Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And welcome to Best Quality Vacuum, our show about the extended Vince Gilliverse, Breaking Bad, El Camino, Better Call Saul.
This week we're talking about the beginning of season 2. We are out of season 1 weirdness and we're into season 2 weirdness.
Yep. And then we eventually get to season 3, 4, and 5 regularness. I don't know why that's the regular one, but that's where it feels regular here. We're talking about 737. This episode written by Jay Roberts, directed by Bryan Cranston, originally aired March 8th, 2009.
Yeah. And this is one of those ones that picks up right where the previous, episode season left off. Jesse and Walt, they're going to learn, hey, that guy that Tuco beat nearly to death right in front of them, turned out he beat him all the way to death.
Yes.
And they've got to reconcile, figure out, okay, like, can we actually, oh boy, we're in a mess, aren't we?
Yeah. The beginning of the season is a lot of them being scared.
Yes.
Before kind of hitting their stride. The title of this is taken, Walt calculates how much money he'll need before he can quit the drug trade. It's also a double entendre, which we'll find out. There are no spoilers in the show. This is a very old show. If you're watching it for the first time along with the show, I'd recommend you don't. It's one episode every 2 weeks is a pretty leisurely pace.
You have more willpower than I would if that's what you're doing. Yeah.
So there are multiple titles in the season that are referring to something in the episode at this time, the amount of money that he needs, but also the Wayfarer 515 incident, a plane crash that Walt contributes to.
I'm sure whole ethics classes have been taught on that.
It's a weird thing they're experimenting with. When we talk about season 2 weirdness, it's kind of what we mean. And it's this idea that early on, I feel like they were experimenting with this idea of almost like a Magnolia or butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Result of Walt, where his crapulence and the walking corruption doesn't just hurt the people around him, but it's going to hurt strangers on a almost like kind of cosmic scale.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they stopped that. It feels like gilding the lily a little bit to me. There are brilliant scenes and performances that happen around this.
Yes.
I love John Delancey in this season.
I think Water on Mars. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely great character, really great scene. It's not necessary for Walt to cause earthquakes and hurricanes.
It's weird because if they wanted to make that show about the effect that he has around him, and they look into this a little bit, but like, I don't know, the more direct thing rather than obliquely causing a plane crash would be the devastation that he is unleashing into the community via making a highly addictive drug. Yeah.
Via creating the mega meth.
Yeah.
And they do that. That's the thing with this is they do both.
Yeah.
That ends up feeling, that's why it feels like gilding the lily a little bit. This was the season. One of the reasons why it's so weird is they plotted this out in its entirety. Previously they had talked about how they were really free to improvise and kind of go where the story told them. They did that to a degree on the season, but not as much.
Yeah.
They had to know in episode 1, like, hey, a plane crash happens.
Yeah. They said that was aggravating. That was just way too much effort to do. We don't think the juice was worth the squeeze. And they kind of reverted to a little bit more of a by the seat of your pants kind of approach. Not being entirely haphazard. This is very tightly done. It's just,
more organic.
Or more organic is a good way to put it.
Yeah. We kind of split up, and I don't know if you remember this conversation, but we had split up our duties on this thing in terms of back matter, where I was like, hey, I've listened to a lot of these commentaries before, but I haven't listened to the podcast. I want to listen to the podcast if you want to take the commentaries. Turns out neither of which are that great. In this episode, at least, the first episode of the podcast, which is one of the editors interviewing Vince Gilligan, she's great. Like, she seems like a talented person, and ask okay questions, but it's so fucking general.
Yeah.
It's real weird. Like, how do you get your ideas stuff? You know, how hard was that for you? Things like that. And Vince Gilligan, like, you know, really nice, very charming man, just he just repeats a lot of watchwords for Breaking Bad, like, you know, Mr. Tibbs becoming Scarface, you know, things like that. There are a couple of good insights in it. He specifically also considers turning down Elliot and Gretchen's offer to be like a major turning point with Walt. That's something that, you know, we picked up on, I think is obvious in retrospect, you know, giving him a way out, but it is just a way to hear him say Vince Gilliganisms that you've heard before.
Just if you want to hear that voice.
Yeah. That's a great voice. It's very charming.
If you remember season 1 commentaries, they were crowded and raucous to the point of being very difficult to process.
Yes.
These ones are much less crowded. Although when I look at the list of people who were on it, I think the thing that makes this much more focused is the fact that Dean isn't there.
Yeah. There's nobody just making jokes, which a double-edged sword, right? Because like one of the things about the making of the show, I like the camera trickery and stuff that they do. And this, like, I think it's important. It's essential to the show. Yeah. It's ultimately not what I'm here for. Like, I won't watch a show because it's beautifully shot. Yeah. You know, or it has this stuff. I'm here for character. You know, I'm here for character and plot. And that stuff has nothing to do with how many hours it took them to set up a time lapse of blankety bloop. Right. That kind of stuff has limited interest to me. It's interesting, but it's not fascinating. It's not high interest, I guess. Yeah. You know?
I think it's very neat. Like I do enjoy like production details, like how they achieve, you know, the kind of thing. But like when you have that many like principles there, like, you know, that many, you have the actors who are making, you know, decisions. You have, if not the director, you have the, you know, the showrunner who helped guide, who oversaw the decisions, like getting those people in the room to, you know, talk about the experience on set, which obviously they went through it. It's important. But only that feels a little bit like a waste. It feels like a suboptimal use of that time, getting them all together in a room.
It's also, they're kind of trapped. Like that's what they can do on a commentary of this. It's not a post-mortem, right? Like, yes, they can't talk about all of the plot and character decisions because they're still being caged about spoilers, you know, at that point. Like they talked, ironically, like this show is the successor in the orb slot. Saying they talked about an orb like openly, where they're like, who is the psychopath who stops and listens to a commentary after every episode rather than listening to the whole season? And the commentaries on this show also are cagey. Yeah. You know, there's a spoiler wall. They don't want to spoil stuff like that in case there is somebody who's doing that. I am on Doc Hammer's side, where I think that's psychopath behavior. Like I cannot imagine stopping listening to a commentary, then going and watching the rest of the show on your first run through the show.
Yeah. That's sitting in a bathtub full of cold water with no bubbles, eating dry cereal out of a bowl with your hands. Yeah.
It's weird. Unsavory, flying a kite at night. You know, it's just hello, mother. Like there's just something about it it doesn't work for me. Yeah. So it ends up being a little bit frustrating in terms of getting the information that I would maybe want. You know,
I feel a bit dumb though. So something about this season that I didn't know until they called it out. Betsy Brandt, Marie's character, is pregnant for this entire season. She was like 5 or 6 months along. I'm normally pretty good at spotting that when it happons, because the tricks are so
well. And also you're an editor at pregnantysniffer.com. So like you're one of the big wiki editors on pregnancy hounds.
I really dropped the ball. That's what got me bumped down from senior editor to junior editor
to junior associate pregnancy sniffer.
Oh, what an unsavory phrase you have.
Somebody's pregnant.
There are only so many ways you can hide that, and they're all pretty classic, right? Yeah, you know, carrying a big like gift box, you know, shopping box, carrying a purse, drapey clothing,
getting blown up like a blueberry in Willy Wonka.
Yeah. I just, but yeah, I just learned that, more than a decade after I watched this season. Like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't really realize it either, but part of it is because I kind of glance over like in retrospect, as a defense mechanism, me understanding that this is not a show about a shoplifting sister, and realizing a lot of this stuff is going to be, again, finely acted and fine, but they haven't honed their focus.
Yeah.
Like how ultimately unimportant, and even in this episode, right? Like this episode has a theme to it, and that stuff plays into it. And the theme of this episode is sublimation. This is people who are frustrated or hurt or made anxious by one thing, taking it out on another thing.
Yes.
And that is going to happen throughout the whole episode here. Starting with this inciting incident, not the cold open,
right,
which is the reason why this is controversial. Like one of the things when people talk about season 2 weirdness, they're talking about these opens.
Yeah.
There are 4 episodes during this thing that open with the aftermath of this plane crash, and it's a mystery. It's setting up something happened at the Walter White house.
Yes.
There's sirens and stuff. There's the pool has debris in it, an eyeball floating in it, but no, it's not real. It's plastic.
Yeah.
And
then it just artfully turns. It's like when I watched it, I was like, this is weirdly arty in a way that it hadn't been.
Yeah. It's not naturalistic feeling at all.
Yeah.
I don't particularly care for it.
Right.
It reminds me of when in like my Chernobyl reading stuff around Chernobyl and Pripyat, how all of that, like, here's a doll with a gas mask on it, are all staged by tourists.
Right.
And this feels like that. It feels heavily staged. Even though this is a plausible thing that I suppose could happen if there's a plane crash in the sky above you, but like, I don't know, mostly attached teddy bear landing right in your pool. I don't know. It's very high school poetry magazine cover.
Yeah. Additionally, the visual metaphor that we're working with here, just we see one side of the teddy bear, like, it's pink, and they're doing the selective coloration. They're doing the Schindler's List trick on this. But you see it from one side, and then it's almost like a two-phase reveal. We see the other side has been burned to a crisp. Like there's been some kind of explosion.
Yeah.
George, screaming mad.
Yeah, screaming mad George has fallen from the sky and is infected Breaking Bad for just a little bit aesthetically.
Yeah.
The real open of the episode is an absolute shot for shot recap of the end of the season.
Yeah.
Tuco beating the shit out of No-Dos.
And, Walt and Jesse get in their car with the money, and Jesse is just, Jesse's
been, this could have been him.
Yeah,
he's been the victim of one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he has been beating the shit out of Tuco, and if Tuco was a little bit more methed up, he probably would have died.
Yeah.
Like... Yeah.
That is funny that, like, okay, the meth that they made in the RV, like the pseudo meth, like that got Tuco enough to put Jesse into the hospital. But the blue sky was enough to put No-Dos in the morgue.
Eventually there's a meth strong enough to just airdrop Tuco into other nations.
Like he's the fucking Incredible Hulk. Like he's
we just airdrop Captain Tuco. And Walt he starts justifying it to himself and Jesse immediately.
Yes.
He starts doing the math, how much money he's going to need. Like, and he figures out that's, we're making this much per thing, $737,000. That's 11 more weeks. If we can deal with this guy for 11 more weeks, we can quit.
Which is like, we've had 3 encounters total, and 2 of them have ended up with a casualty, and then the third one had to be resolved by an explosion.
It's been Tuco not great.
Yeah.
They go to leave, but Tuco stops them. Tuco's SUV boxes them in, and they get out. Tuco's furious. He pulls No-Dos out, and No-Dos is convulsing. Tuco did not want this.
No.
This wasn't his intent. Obviously, he was on super meth, but also this is him taking his frustrations out, again, and getting an unwanted result.
Yes.
It's
screaming at him, trying to get him to wake up. What's the matter with you? Can't take an ass kicking, bitch. Like, and he's talking to Walt like, oh, you're smart.
You're smart. Fucking fix him. Do this. He's like, do the chest thing. He does it. He's like, breathe in his mouth. And he's like, they don't teach that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not supposed to do that. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
He's dead. He's dying.
Yeah.
Jesse is about to breathe into his mouth and Walt stops him. Like, listen, he's fucking dead. No pulse. He's going to die. Right. His mouth is foaming.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible way to fucking die. Just like literally just beat to shit like that.
Terrible. The eyes wide open. Well, and Tuco takes a minute, and again, his rage has to go somewhere, so he just starts kicking Nodo's body.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, just like turns to Gonzo and says, get rid of them. And Gonzo says, it's not very
we can't do him like that. Like, this is a buddy. And we're going to find out they go way back.
Yes.
Like this specific trio.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, that's not very Christian. We can't do that. And Tuco waits a second. He goes, that sounds like arguing. Like, remember, I'm the scary, powerful person here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gonzo drags Nodos over to hide him under a pile of cars, and foreshadowing a little bit, like he knocks into it and it kind of tilts a bit. Just shifts when he runs into it. Those cars, they had to so because a lot of this is reshoots. The cars at the end of season 1 were taken down, and then they had to painstakingly recreate that pile of cars with similar cars. And then in order to, because they needed them to move, they had to weld them together and put them on like a gimbal. So that they could do that shaking on it, which sounds just like a fucking nightmare in the New Mexico sun.
Yeah, that would not be fun. Yeah. Walt and Jesse go to leave, and Tuco stops him. He gets up in their face, and he's like, "Where are you going? What's your hurry?" Walt says, "I think we're done here." He's like, "You're done.
You're done."
Yeah, he says it. And as Jesse's leaving, he grabs the back of Jesse's neck and throws him on the ground. Like, this is all, he can't know where to put his rage. He's mad at himself.
Mm-hmm.
He fucked up and got himself in trouble. He can't be responsible.
No.
That's not how Tucos work.
Yeah.
That's the wonderful thing about Tucos. Tucos are wonderful things. So we cut to at home. Another act of sublimation here.
This is upsetting. Like, this is real villain shit on Walt's part. It's very
let's
raw.
get into it. We just have to take it head on. There's no it happens on the show. There's no getting around it. So
Skylar's doing her beauty regimen, and she puts on this avocado green face cream,
some
kind of
Prego
thing.
slime first.
Oh yeah, rubbing
she
that
lubes
belly.
up her belly. Yeah.
Don't say Prego slime. Jesus.
Pregante. Yeah, baby. She's gonna lay eggs. It's happening. She goes out to the kitchen and she hears the front door close and says, "Hey, I'm in here." But Walt doesn't respond. Yeah. He's staring at the TV, changing the channel. He's looking for news of this.
Yes.
Cool Easter egg. He flips through a Better Call Saul commercial.
It's pretty good.
Here. Yeah, it's sweet. This is actually, technically first appearance of Saul.
So he's in the house and he's wearing the Heisenberg hat. He forgot to take it off. He has dragged his alter ego in with him. And he doesn't respond when Skylar calls to him. And it's like, "You doing okay? Great. Mm-hmm. New hat? Yeah.
Yep. I'm this kind of guy now. I got that Facebook ad. She asks where he's been, and he turns around and he holds her. He starts crying. Like, he is very overwhelmed, right? Yes. Like, I'm going to say some things that ameliorate the situation because I think that's what the writers are trying to do. I'm not excusing Walt for anything.
No. And a lot of it's in the performance too. Like, he is very much on the edge of getting one kind of catharsis that would have been better for everybody all around. Like, it feels like he is leading up to a confession, and he goes immediately for the worst kind of catharsis that he could possibly get, or at least one of them. So he starts coming on to her, like, or not coming on to her. He starts sniffing her, rubbing her, getting frisky. And she says she's not
saying no, like immediately. She's like, let me get this stuff off my face.
Yeah.
Walt's going to be home in a minute. Like reasonable, we are sexual partners.
Yeah.
We have sex. Here are my, here's what I like to do first.
Yes.
Right. I'm not excusing any of this.
No.
What I'm trying to say though, is it's not, the scene gets reduced down.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people, when they don't like Breaking Bad, if they think that it is too bleak or too dour, or that there's not enough humanity in Walt to be worth watching, one of the things I'll hear a lot is like, oh yeah, like there's a scene he raped his wife in the second season. And like, yes, he pushes past a no.
Yes.
Not okay. Not okay in a million years. Never okay.
Mm-hmm.
Never okay. Kind of grabs her, pushes her face up against the wall and stuff until she says no a second time louder, and he stops.
Yes.
Again, you don't have to hand it to him.
No,
not saying he's in the clear. I'm just saying that it's very reductive, I think.
Yeah.
Of at very least intent. Like you can think the moral event horizon is that this is too far and irrevocably damned. This fucking sucks. I think what they're trying to do, and you can decide that they're not successful, is that this is not meant to be a literal sexual assault that he's doing. It is meant to be him being rough and numb and trying to sublimate these feelings he has.
Yeah.
And forgetting his self, forgetting his respect, forgetting his humanity.
In the commentary, they talk about this. They talk about like, they're just like, we had to, really, Bryan Cranston was initially reluctant to do this until everybody sat down and talked about it. It was him and Anna working their way like, okay, just, like, what are the actual beats for this that we're going to do? Just from a production standpoint, it was all worked through. Obviously, it's a professional production. But they were talking just like, Walt, he's terrified. He has just come close to dying and believes that, he is going to be killed here. And that fear and that existential terror is like misplaced, like a wire gets crossed.
Yeah, it's sublimated.
And he, it bears saying this also is a bit of a mirror to the first episode of season 1. When he kills a guy and then comes home and they have the like, oh, like, who are you? Sex, right? This is the completely dark version of it. I guess what we're getting around to saying is like they build in reasons, and that's to me what makes this good art. It's not excuses.
I don't. You do not have to hand it to Walt. We're not the quest of this podcast is not to figure out if Walt's a good guy. Like he's not. This is maybe them pushing the throttle further than they should have.
Yes.
On having a gradual decline.
Yeah.
This is, you could have had, there's ways to make somebody a little aggro in trying to cross those wires without pushing past a hard no or making it this brutal. He is immediately disgusted with himself too. Again, there are details in the performance that make him, he is almost immediately, without repenting, repentant for this. Yes, it is, and she immediately, she calls him out like Skylar does. Skylar is in this scene is really good. Yes, really great performance. Asserts herself, and then when he's out in the pool, just kind of staring like he's, feels really bad about this. Again, not enough, but she comes out and is like, listen, I know what you're going through. Like, you're very angry and scared. You can't take this out on me. Yeah. Like, this is not fucking okay. Yeah. Here. And sets that boundary. It is a boundary that he should have intuited. Yes. But it's. So again, I not excusing anything. I'm so worried that someone's going to be like, oh, these guys, are excusing sex assault. I'm fucking not. It's just, you have to talk about the scene in its total. It can be really bad without being pure black tendency. The word, it doesn't, there have to be shades to crapulence, or like you throw out so much discussion of human nature if there aren't degrees, so. Yeah.
And when I was talking about hemming and hawing, or when I was hemming and hawing, getting into talking about this, it's more like I don't come down on the side where they like shouldn't have done this. Like this is, it feels like a misplaced beat more than a beat that shouldn't have not existed, I guess.
Yeah. Misplaced and maybe just a little tuned.
Yeah.
A little bit off.
Yeah.
So Junior comes home. So they would have been caught.
Mm-hmm.
And sees the aftermath of this, like stuff scattered on the floor, the green avocado blotch on the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of thinks for a minute. The camera lingers on him like, what the fuck is going on here? Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do a match cut from the avocado face mask on the fridge to Jesse at the doghouse eating chips and guac.
Yeah, it's a eating face mask.
Yeah. If we end up doing an Albuquerque Breaking Bad tour, Gary, we need to go to the doghouse. This food looks good.
Gotta go to the doghouse. I would eat at the doghouse.
Yeah.
That'd be really fun. He's doing a deal. He does like a dead drop basically to get a revolver. He's bought a gun. That's his plan for this.
Right.
The next day they're at Jesse's. Walt's over there and Jesse's freaking out. Like they're dead. You're done. What do you think that means? This number has been calling me and not saying anything. This Cadillac has been cruising my neighborhood, no lights on. This is, we're going to fucking die, dude.
Yeah.
We do. And Walt says, like that's an assumption. You're making assumptions here. You're guessing. And Jesse's like, no, man, we're witnesses. And how long is it going to take for Tuco to decide we're not trustworthy? And when that happens, bad things are going to fucking happen.
Right
here.
And so he presents his plan. He takes out his gun and says, it's Tuco or it's us. And Walt,
this is kind of weak sauce. This whole bit, like he's like, what's your plan to do it? Which is a good question, right? Like this is something we actually see Mike do this kind of thing.
Yes.
Later, the consummate professional will be like, what's your actual plan for this? It's a good question, right? Like this kind of scene gets shown many times, but there could be an answer to it. Walt's asking it like it's a rhetorical full stop.
Yeah.
It's not.
And this scene is paired with another scene a little bit later where it's reversed, Walt is asking this primarily because he doesn't want Jesse to kill his golden goose.
Yes.
Walt's, like, okay,
he wants those 11 weeks.
Yeah. Jesse's in danger. We can deal with that. When Walt thinks later that he is in danger, then it becomes,
I'm taking the gun.
Yes.
You don't need it. This is him being shitty. It's motivated reasoning.
Yes. And he's asking like, okay, so what's your plan? Like, okay, well, I'm just going to put 2 in his head. All right, 2, you have 4 shots left. He's doing like a DM. And it's like, Gonzo, he's a big guy. How many shots is that going to take? How many bullets does that hold?
What about an extra dude? What if there are extra guys there? What if he has a shield? What if Tuco brought a spear? He's just asking these dumb fucking rhetorical questions. Again, it's meant as a hard counter and it works for the characters because Walt is motivated and Jesse does not have the presence of mind right now to push back.
He's not a killer.
Yeah. And he's also terrified.
Yeah.
He asks him how many bullets does that hold? And Jesse can't open the revolver. Yeah. And Walt says, like, how can you suggest we kill a man when you can't even open the gun? Where the correct answer is like, well, I'll just figure it out. Like, he's not here right now. I'll go down to the range. But Walt says it's not that easy. Jesse says, well, man, you did it. And Walt goes, yeah. He has no counter for that. Like,
you got me.
You got me. But real fans of the drama of the show have been waiting for this next part.
Yeah. That we're getting into. All summer, all winter. It's March. We're finally back around. New season.
Been a year for season 2, and we finally get to see Marie getting ready for work. Leaving a message on Skylar's voice machine about going to a new restaurant.
She records a goddamn podcast onto this answering machine, Gary. I can't stand it.
Yeah. Can you imagine in this world of text where I just basically want like one word text, like here now, like just like, gotta go back to beepers. Like I have no interest in this much asymmetrical communication.
There's that like a joke tweet going around. I don't expect you to have seen it, but it's like a screenshot of like text messages, and it's like, this is how guys talk, and it's just over several days an exchange where somebody just writes game ? And said yeah, and then I'm on, and then BRT, be right there. Game? Yeah. It's just literally like one or two word, like syllable kind of things about
so good.
I am ready to game, and I'll be on. We're gonna game. That is what communication should be.
Put it in my veins. I mean, I like we talk for a living. Like I love a conversation, but I hate a fucking answering machine message.
Oh God. It doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter if I just peed. When I listen to any voicemail message, I immediately just have to piss like a racehorse. I gotta go. Yeah.
Did you ever run in with a hypnotist?
I don't just like it's just a built-in impatience. Like, come on, get to the fucking point.
There is like, I mean, do you remember that golden time? For a little while, my phone would transcribe voice messages into text, and then it went away.
Yeah.
It no longer does that. I don't know what I did. I didn't turn it off. I just feel like they took away our right.
Yep.
Like one of the big benefits of owning a phone is like, I can just read this rather than listen to it. They got rid of that.
But she's on there like, do you think people, it's like when oh gosh, It's Always Sunny when they try and make a podcast, but she's like, so when we go get Chinese, do you think people in China say, let's go out for American?
People from other countries also eat other countries' food. You weirdo. So she gets done with this. Hank comes home and notices she's talking to herself. She goes out of the car and he's like following her. And this is like weirdly good work from Hank in this episode. Mm-hmm. Like I really like Hank in this. Yeah. He's like, hey, how late is that place open? You got a therapist appointment. And she denies it. She's doing the same thing she did with Skylar. Mm-hmm. No, that wasn't tonight. It's Thursday. And he's like, I'm pretty sure it is. Remember, like they were going to charge us and we didn't. Like he has relevant detail. Yeah. And she's stonewalling him. It's not my fault you don't have the names right. It's no big deal. And he's trying to be direct with her. Yes. Like, hey, it's really helping you. Like we need this. Mm-hmm. And she's shutting him down completely.
Yes. And just pulling away and driving over the neighbor kid's remote control car. What's that?
She's sublimating. She's frustrated with Hank and she's taking it out on this kid. That's every character in the episode is doing that.
She's frustrated. She's frustrated with Skylar for not picking up, so she takes it on Hank. And when that doesn't work, she takes it out on the kid. What's this kid doing playing with his remote control car at 7:30 a.m.?
I don't know why he's doing it that early. It shouldn't be that early. But like a cul-de-sac is a killer place to roll a remote control car around.
Oh shit, man. Yeah. Dude, I didn't live on a cul-de-sac. I lived on a dead end road that dead ended in gravel. But man, just the crazy RC stuff we did and doing donuts on bikes, kicking just like big sprays of gravel up. Fuck yeah.
One of my very few pre-parent divorce like fond memories when I lived in Aurora where I was born, our house was across the street from like a factory. And it was, before super capitalist hellscape. So it was just closed at night. Mm-hmm. Like it was like a 9 to 5 factory, which is kind of weird, but it meant there was a big empty parking lot right across the street. Oh, yeah. And I used to go and drive a remote control car around that. And then I had a skateboard with a handle bolted onto it that I used to just like go and do laps.
Yeah.
And stuff. It's super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great. Hank at this point kind of apologizes to the kid. Good comedy beat. She's and just starts peeling off 20s out of his wallet. Real great.
Love it. So Hank goes to work. He's got to go to work too.
He's going to sublimate. Yep. He's frustrated and he now takes this out on Gomi. Like he just like chop Gomi, get to it. What do you got for me? I want to do some work because I can't handle my feelings that I'm having about my relationship.
So no. That does he?
Yeah. He immediately says he's like he storms past Gomi. Gomi's saying they're having fun with his friends. He goes, come on, chop, get in the room. And Gomi goes, good morning to you too.
I guess I didn't notice that beat. I was about to say, like, we're at the point where Hank is the most like emotionally well-adjusted person on the show before he gets his near-death experience. But
he fast walks in and steamrolls like people saying hi and good morning and stuff to him to get to work. Like he needs to get to something that has a solution he can solve.
Yeah. But Gomez has something for him. Gomi does. So he brings him in and we see security video from the chemical warehouse. And, it says like, oh yeah, they're burning the door with thermite. We checked the guys down at the lab and just like, oh, these guys know what they're doing. But then immediately like, oh, these guys are clowns because they can't figure out that a barrel will roll or that they could have gotten a hand truck.
Stolen a hand truck. Yeah. And Hank is like, he's like, what do they steal? Methylamine. He goes, oh, they're doing a P2P cook, like a old school biker crank.
Yeah.
None of all the old school guys are in jail. Nobody does this anymore.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out who it is. Somebody who has book smarts, but not street smarts. They don't know how to roll a barrel, but they know how to make meth.
Yes. His guess is, maybe some college students trying to make a score like those kids in the movie 21.
Yes. Yeah. And Hank correctly points out, again, Walt making plans and doing things he does not understand the context for. He's like, with that much precursor, they're going to be making a lot of meth. They're going to step on somebody. Like they better hope we catch them and not the boys from Juarez.
Yeah.
Introducing very specifically the idea of a cartel. Like we've known there were these drug dealers here. We know Tuco Salamanca, but we don't know how deep that goes.
Yeah. We don't know that he is part of a family. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So Walt gets home and he is upset. He thinks that he has a Tuco sighting. There's an SUV that is, waiting on the street across from his house. And then it pulls away once he notices it. Yeah. The headlights are on. Like it's just a person sitting there. They turn on the car and then they pull away. This is they mention in the commentary, this is not one of Tuco's people. It's a different SUV. I paid attention to it. It is not. It's not a Cadillac. It's not the same SUV. It's a GMC SUV. Yeah.
Skylar wakes up because the baby kicks in the morning and says, hey, your daughter wants out, but Walt isn't in bed. He's sitting there out by the window. And he startled. The phone rings. It's Maria again. Skylar picks up and just hangs up because she's not talking to him. And she says like, hey, have you been out here all night? And he lies. She can see through his lies. Basically at this point, like he's like, hey, nausea, I knew I was going to be up and down. I didn't want to keep you up.
Yeah.
So I've only been out here for a little bit.
Kind of shitty to use your chemo side effects as cover.
I mean, he's going to do that to the alternate Poca evolution of using chemo side effects as cover.
He's going
to get a degree in that by the end of this.
He's going to evolve into a Fugazard.
He does dissolve into a Fugazard. Walter. When she walks away, he takes the knife he had for Tuco stabbing and puts it away.
Yep. Just right back into the knife block. So Walter, again, when Jesse felt scared, it was nothing. He's at Jesse's house and he's grilling, how did Tuco find out about me? Like,
did you tell him? Did you leak it? And Jesse says no. And he kind of rolls past this. Like it doesn't matter. He just needed the information. Again, Jesse's fear is not real. How's Tuco going to react when he finds out my brother-in-law is in the DEA?
Yeah.
And Jesse's like, yeah, that's why we kill him. We'll get you a gun. We'll have double our chances. And Walt goes, I love this. He goes like, I have a better idea. And Jesse goes, thank fucking God. Like, it's just like, he doesn't want to do this.
No.
Like, it's great.
His relief is so good. Very relatable too. Like, oh God, there's an adult here. Oh, please save me.
Oh yeah. Thank goodness. I have to shut down my executive function. It's not up to Tuco.
His idea is beans. He just pulls out a little bag of them, and Jesse is immediately dismissive. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna grow a magic beanstalk. Climb to safety."
Yeah, the safety. And Walt says, "No, I'm going to make ricin." And he goes, "Ricin beans?" like rice and beans, the dish, like, no, rice and poison. He explains it. This is, again, a little early Breaking Bad weirdness where it's kind of about a science superhero. You know, they ease back on this a lot, which I like. Like, the ricin is always going to be part of a plot thing because, like, once you introduce these beans, this little bag of beans are going to hold over the whole series.
Yes.
You know, basically in a cool way, but we get a little less, other than the little magnet bit, a little less of Walt inventing his way out of problems. Which I like because that's fun, but it's not very grounded.
It's a sometimes treat.
Sometimes treat.
No, we're going to be on Ricin watch for fucking ever. And like, I understand it's intentional, but just I remember being in the Something Awful Breaking Bad threads and just nobody would shut the fuck up about the ricin. Like every single plot inconsistency. Well, maybe the ricin came in.
Yeah, the ricin did it. It's like tofu and Resident Evil.
Jesus.
Through it, just
also made of beans.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was thinking of tofu Salamanca. And like reskinning it is a fascinating thing. Like, I didn't know about that there was a poison bean that made a plausible covered death. You know, this is a lot of people's introduction to the idea of like plausibly getting away with murder. I think like this probably got a lot of people on a lot of lists through bad Googles. Because this is one of those, like, many, you know, beautiful things about the world that feels like surreal sci-fi and is real. You know, this is actually a thing.
Now, just processing a castor bean into this highly concentrated toxin, he does bring the story about the Bulgarian spy who was killed in London on a bridge, stabbed in the leg with an umbrella that had a capsule of this stuff. He died from what seemed like the flu a few days later, but it turned out it was ricin poisoning, just because it's, you know, not super common, so they don't really test for it.
When the ricin cannon does finally fire, it is really satisfying because it takes out one of the worst people in the show.
Oh God, yeah. One of the worst people in this universe.
Just awful fucking character. Not poorly done, just a very bad person in a show that has a lot of really bad people in it. And they had to figure out a delivery device for it. You know, no more Tuco. You know, once he does this. Skylar's in the nursery going through old photos of better times when she notices one of her sitting next to her old boss in an affectionate pose. Ted. This is also the first appearance of Ted in addition to Saul.
Silver Fox extraordinaire.
Yeah, sexy Ted. Hank gets her attention by standing menacingly in the window and pounding on it. Like fucking cops, man. This is how they knock on doors.
I mean, just it's weirdly like a jump scare that they throw in here.
Because he's going to be a Tuco thug.
I mean, you know, just by the silhouette, you know, he's got a bald head. He's really big. No, it's just Hank. He's
Dean Norris.
It's just Dean Norris. Dean Sex Gifts Norris.
I had to put a cardboard cutout of Dean Norris in my window to stop him from coming around because he doesn't come in because he thinks he's already there. So he doesn't have to.
He doesn't want to cause a paradox.
All right. You don't want to meet myself. Nope. I love this scene. I really, you know, in terms of stuff that comes out of the Marie fallout, Hank being absolutely ill-equipped to deal with this kind of problem, you know, despite being incredibly like capable ASAC Schrader. You know, other times I really like how this is characterized. And
I like that he's trying. He's obviously so uncomfortable. He can't decide whether he's going to be in or like inside the house or outside the house. Like, but he's going to do it. Like he is trying. He's trying to build this bridge. Right.
I love it. It's really good.
But also he's doing it like in a real Hank way. Just like, I know I'm here about Marie. You know, just trust me, I want to come here. But this is self-preservation big time.
He has to try a joke and like joke like Skylar is just one of the dudes.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, listen, here's what you do. Just return her calls. Like yell at her, scream at her. I don't care. Just please return her calls. Like my life is hell. You know, and Skylar goes, you know, Skylar breaks that she's a shoplifter and, you know, tells him the story that the tiara and Hank knows about it. Hank says, you know, I thought if you're going to return it, I never would have. And she's shocked because again, Skylar's kind of a square. and is really put off by shoplifting as if this is a huge moral crime.
Right.
And Hank just says, like, we need to, support her. Like, she's going through this. We've been working with a therapist. It's a known problem.
Yeah.
And Skylar very rightly, like, blows the fuck up.
Yeah. Oh, we need to support Marie. We support Marie. Yeah. Okay. And then lists off like all the shit that she's going through. Yeah. Everything from, the unexpected baby to the husband with cancer who, like she's upset about the fact that he disappears all the time and is lying to her, all the way down to like our water heater is leaking rusty crap and it's rotting out the floor of our house.
Yep. Like, Flynn is not, talking to her like everything, every single problem. Yeah. And Hank wants her to do some emotional labor for Marie. Yeah. Who ostensibly has it made, like, not that, psychological problems aren't real. Yeah. But Marie is in a much more privileged position.
Yes. Yeah. Because God knows she's the one with the important problems. And this hug, because she starts crying and Hank knows what he has to do. Like, just, okay, I'm in this situation. This person needs comforting, but he does like the biggest A-frame hug that has ever existed. Yeah. Like, if he could do this hug over walkie-talkie, that's what he would be doing.
Using the AOK'd weapon art to hug. The dancing hug of AOK'd.
Yes. Just whipping that executioner sword around
her. Yeah. Kind of squeezing her from a distance. Yeah. He's trying to help in the way that he can. He does this and then he's just like, do you want me to look at the utility closet? Like, I can practically, and this is, I think this is actually like backwards really sweet. Yeah. Like, I can take one of these things off your hands.
Yeah. Like that is the right thing to do, which is like, all right, well, let's solve. Okay. Like we can pick an easy one. Like, let's go fix it up.
What can I do what can I take off your plate is always a good question. If somebody's having a problem, the answer might be no, like it can't become in a position, but like, hey, is there something, I can do? Yeah. Like as an adult, like one of my favorite gift things for people whom either I don't really know what they have or how to shop for them, or they're adults, and I can't get everybody like a Turtles toy now, is just to be like, hey, like sincerely, I will order you a pizza anytime you want. Yep. Like you get home from work and you don't want to cook dinner, I will make a pizza magically appear at your house. And I've had people like take me up on that, and it's like, $30 or whatever. But it's like, I think it's a really good gift. Like I can take this thing off your plate, even if it's a minor thing, because at a certain point, just one more thing is a problem, regardless of what that thing is.
It's one of the best things that churches do, which is if somebody's sick, like you are going to be showered in casseroles because it takes something like just, okay, you're worrying about enough. We're going to worry about your food.
Yeah, meal train. Or whatever they're called, like when somebody's pregnant or has a baby, you get a meal train, I think it's called. Yeah.
And just like, but Hank has the right idea. It is very sweet. Yeah. But it's it is a funny thing because she's talked about all this stuff. It's like, hey, want me to take a look at that utility closet, because it is also him, not knowing how to relate to the other stuff, but again, him as this version of masculinity, the Mr. Fix-It masculinity that can come through. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was earlier when you're saying like, he is the character who's not sublimating. Like, I think the emotionally well-adjusted character in this early part of the season is Skylar. Like Skylar is confronting people who are doing who are doing her wrong.
She hasn't withdrawn yet. Yeah.
She's not taking it out on Flynn. She's taking it out on Walt when Walt transgresses. She's taking it out on Hank when he does an inappropriate ask. She's killing it. And then eventually she's going to start just like, having to play the game and get around and hurt people indirectly too, because she gets dragged down to this stuff.
Yeah. I guess the only reason I guess the only reason that I swung around and excluded Skylar from that is she has so much on her. That like just the stress is
she's not doing good. She's just handling the stuff that she has better than everyone else. She's not scheming.
She doesn't have maladaptive patterns yet.
Yes. We get a little montage of Walt mixing up Ricin powder. And they're trying to figure out how to do it. Like, we're going to arrange this next meeting. We'll give them the tainted meth, saying we have a new formula. I love Jesse, says like, well, what's different about it? And like, Walt's like, I don't know. It gets you insanely high. Like, what are you fucking meth heads like? And then Jesse's like, we'll just put a pin in that, even though it gets you super high. I think the Tuco would just take whatever meth they give him at this point.
Yeah. Which Walt points out, like, he'll put anything up his nose. He doesn't even check.
Yeah, a maniac will snort anything. You don't need to outsmart Tuco to get him to snort.
Which is funny because that assumption is not true, and that's what ends up fucking them over.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things. Like, it takes their ace in the hole away. Yeah.
If they hadn't just done the blue meth, they maybe could do it.
Yeah.
It's suspicious to have it multiple ways. It reminds you, it's like Frank and Joey Sunday, like, ooh, Snortsky, just like, it. Like, it sounds good to me. Basically, so they get it to him, and then 72 hours, he'll be dead. It won't be traceable. His associates won't know it was us. And like 72 hours, like, well, not if Tuco kills us first. And they're having a hard time with this when Walt's cell phone rings. He fumbles between the two he has, foreshadowing the second cell phone revelation to Skylar. This is Hank. Being like, hey man, I'm really sorry. You're getting an earful. I fucked up and pissed off your wife.
Yeah.
Hank, this is bro code stuff. He's trying to do him a solid, like, hey man, this is my fault.
Yeah.
Hank is calling from a crime scene though. And he's like, hey, okay, that's fine, but you got to see this. This is funny. This makes me feel like this is highly illegal. I think Hank would be really arrested for just sending pictures of a crime scene.
I can tell you, without using names, this happens. I'm in a cop family. This happens.
Well, you're not using names. I think you kind of gave it away a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
it's nobody immediately related to me.
Yeah.
Let's say.
I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it seems super illegal.
Yeah, it also sucks assuming that somebody who isn't in the game wants to see a dead body.
Yeah. Hey kids, want to see a dead body is not something you can safely be like, oh, the answer is always yes. Like, anybody always wants this.
Yeah.
Like, this is dick pics for Hank. Like,
I'm always
unsolicited.
Yeah. I'm always down to play Dark Souls. I'm always down to watch The Endless. I'm always down for a good 2009 cell phone picture of a dead body.
Any corpses, just lay them on me. Just faces of death me. He's calling from the scene. What it is a picture of Nodos and Gonzo next to him, pinned to the car. Yeah. The implication being, the conclusion they rush to is that Tuco is cleaning up loose ends.
Yes, the witnesses, right?
Witnesses are dying.
Yeah, and so Walt rushes for Jesse's gun. Here at the house, like there's the good physical comedy on this, them just chasing each other again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Saying like,
hey, I need that gun. And he's like, you don't if you get out of town right now, but I have a family. I have to get to him. Fair enough. Like, Jesse could probably get in a car and just drive.
Jesse grabs his go bag. Yeah. This is gonna fuck him because he's gonna lose his money, but it's a fine plan. Put the cash in there. And Walt goes to his house calling for Skylar, but doesn't get a response. Thinking, oh, she's been gotten already.
Yep. He goes, gets his gun. Skylar's in the tub. She calls, Junior's not there. Junior's having dinner at Lewis's. And Skylar's like, so where have you been all this time? Walt, realizing that she's not immediately.
It's not where have you been all this time? It's so where have you been this time?
Oh, this time. Yeah. Like, where was your excuse? Walt is like, well, you're not being killed by Tuco right now. I have to take care of business. He goes and gets all of his money while she's calling to him, and he's not answering. He hides in this diaper box along with the gun here, and she's getting more and more mad.
Yeah. We get a cutaway. We're over at the crime scene, and we're going to see what the actual nature of this is. It wasn't a hit. Instead, Hank identifies like, these are two associates of Tuco Salamanca's. He gets in closer. There's blood, but there's no bullet holes. And two of the agents, like medical examiner guys, try and get the body free to lay it out flat. But as they're pulling it, the arms rip off. He was been kind of like standing up, leaning against this pile. His arms got crushed.
Yep. And Hank also notices that one of them smells fresher than the other.
Yes.
Different times of death.
Yeah.
When this happens, he figures it out. We've got the world's dumbest criminal. Gonzo is trying to move Nodo's body, but the car shifted and crushed his arm.
Yeah.
Pretty bad way to die.
Yeah. And he gets down. He wants it a photo op. Let's get a picture of me and old Stumpy. Make sure to get the stump in there. You fucking psycho.
Gross. Yeah. Walt goes back on Skylar on the tub and she says, Walt, please talk to me. And he's about to confess.
Yeah.
He says, I don't know where to begin. He's crying. Like he's really upset.
Yeah.
As he's doing this, his phone rings. He looks at it. And he sees this is Jesse. And he's about to say more, but he sees headlights.
Yeah.
From a car pulling up outside. So he, puts a pin in it, think he's going to come right back. He goes out of the car to see Jesse, and Jesse's there. He's about to lay into Jesse for coming to his home. When Jesse turns slowly, like making eyes in the back, and sees Tuco creep into the back seat.
Yeah. Get in.
Get in. One of the things, like, how when you're watching a show and like, I'm an adult, I understand drama, characters don't make perfect decisions for drama reasons. In my head, I was just like, Walt, say Tuco, like, yeah, my wife is going to look for me. If you don't want the cops chasing us, let me go in there and say, let her know that I got to go. If I just disappear, it's gonna be way worse for you.
Yeah.
That doesn't actually turn out to be the case, but it just in my head, I was thinking that.
Yeah. Which is like, hey, Tuco, your plan isn't very good. I know you're probably not in your right mind, but yeah.
A new kind of meth came out. He does it. It's kind of like Super Princess Peach. Like he does a different meth for every kind of emotion or whatever he's trying to do. So. Yeah.
Oh man. That's our cliffhanger. And this next episode rules. I love Grilled.
Yeah. It's good season. Like it does have that season weirdness, but there's so much good shit that happens here.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking about it. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Give us some money. Check out some premium shows that you get. You can also leave us ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict.
Yeah. If you have any friends who like Breaking Bad or are going through the show for the first time, don't tell them to listen along, but do pass us along if they want to hear more stuff about the show.
Yes. Yeah. This is the first time we record this since then. We'd like to welcome Gwen as our producer. Gwen, the composer of the theme song for the show. We're hired.
Yeah, and she's been a great help so far.
Yeah, it's been great. Anything else?
No. I mean, except if you run across a replacement filter for a Ubermax Extract Pressure Pro 60, send it my way, bud.
Yeah, lay it on us. Woo woo.